Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Beth and I am the Bookworm Trait. And welcome to a special edition of Sims Picks My TBR, which also features my TBR for Myth Taker. Now, I've been starting to find over the past few months, possibly longer, that my reading tastes are changing, and most of the books on these shelves are YA fantasy. Sadly, me and YA fantasy are having a bit of a disconnect at the minute, and I'm finding it really hard to get through the TBRs because it's just not the kind of books that I want to be reading right now. Therefore, I have changed Sims Picks My TBR, and I have taken all of the books out and I've replaced them with prompts, just to give me a little bit more freedom when it comes to picking a book that I want to read. If you don't play Sims, you obviously won't know this, but there are so many different aspirations and traits and bonus traits that, I kind of run out of ones I could think of. So I did my best, I generated some random prompts, and luckily the majority of them I had already got prompts for. And the ones that I didn't, I just came up with some on the spot. So hopefully by next month I will have a full list, but as it stands it's a bit choppy. So I'm gonna go through my Sims TBR first, and I will follow that with my Myth Taker choices. Okay, so for my Sims TBR, the traits that I got were music lover, lazy, hot-headed. I had the aspiration of master actor, and with that you get the bonus trait of Musa. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this first trait. So music lover is obviously a trait all about music, and so for this particular trait what I am going to do is I'm going to randomly generate a song on Spotify. So I'm just going to shuffle my liked music, that's the biggest bulk of songs I have together, and I will need to pick a book that has one of the words from the song or the artist in the title or the same author name. I hope this is going to work. This could just be a complete mess, but we'll try it. Okay, here we go. I don't even know what this song is. This is Look Alive by Block Boy, JB and Drake. I'm terrible with song names, so I need a book that has the words. Block Boy, it's not going to happen. Look, I don't think I have anything with that in the name, nor do I think I have anything with Alive in there. Maybe the initials JB could work, maybe Drake could work. Let's see. So the closest thing I could find to Look Alive was Get a Life, Chloe Brown. A Life, Alive, it's kind of the same thing, so I'm gonna go with it because there's nothing else I can choose. I have actually started this book before I DNF'd at page 18 or 19. I don't remember why I DNF'd this, so this was probably a case of just not being in the mood for it at that particular point in time, putting it down and not picking it back up. Get a Life, Chloe Brown is a romance book about Chloe Brown and a guy called Red, I think. I actually hate this guy's name, Redford Morgan. I'm sorry if that is your name, it's silly. Chloe Brown has chronic health conditions, and I believe she's in an almost accident, and then based off of that accident and the fact that she didn't die, she decides she has to kind of shake her life up and do things differently, like live. She needs to be alive. I have heard really good things about this. I believe it's quite an inclusive book, so Chloe Brown is also a POC, as well as being a plus size character, I assume, from the picture on the front. I don't know. So the next prompt that came up was lazy, and for this I just need to think of the first book that comes into my mind, and that's the book I'm going to pick. It's lazy because there is literally no preparation for this one. So the book that I am going to read is All the Ugly and Wonderful Things. Oh god, why did I say that? Okay. So All the Ugly and Wonderful Things. I don't know why this one was the one that came to mind. I don't really want to read this month. This is a book about a girl called Wavy, I think her name is. Let me see if I'm right. There's no blurb on this, so I don't know if her name is Wavy, but I think her name is Wavy. I believe Wavy has neglectful parents who are drug addicts, and so she is kind of left to fend for herself and ends up forming a relationship with one of her father's friends who kind of takes over her care, and it becomes romantic. This is an inappropriate age gap romance between them. I don't think this is a romance book. I'm interested to see how this is handled. When I bought this, I thought it was a romance, an age gap romance. It is not. I am actually really interested in this, and I think it will be a book that I really like reading. But I don't know if I'm in the mood for something hard hitting this month, but this is what we've got. I'm sorry if it's not the best explanation of what this book is about. There's no blurb for me to double check it. Let's hope that we enjoy it. By we, I mean me. So the next prompt that came up was Hotheaded, and for this I've assigned the prompt of reading something that is triggering. So something that's going to make me angry. I'm quite glad that this prompt came up this month because it is obviously very appropriate. I'm going to try and get through this. Ugh. So the book that I've picked for this is Why I'm No Longer Speaking to White People About Racism, I think is the title. Obviously there is a lot of unrest in the world right now for a number of reasons. So obviously we have the whole corona issue, and then I'm sorry I'm getting so emotional, and then to make everything even just that little bit worse, we have had the tragic murder of George Floyd. For me, I am triggered by very little. I can read, the most gory, gruesome scene in a book, nothing. I can read about sexual assault, I can read about bullying, animal cruelty, nothing. Anything to do with racism is incredibly triggering for me. It's very upsetting for me, and usually I would avoid topics like this because of how much they affect me and upset me and trigger my anxiety. It's very important that we take care of ourselves and don't put ourselves in positions that are going to have negative consequences. That being said, I think that this is incredibly important, and I can't continue to hide myself away from these things because they are real and they are happening, and it is important that I am educated as a woman of colour into what is going on in the world and in my own country. I picked this particular book because it is about institutional racism in the UK, and whilst in the UK we may like to say that racism isn't a thing here, that's not the case, and it is, and I have been a victim of it, and I want to give myself the tools to be able to hold a conversation with someone about these kind of things without becoming upset or confused or muddled. So I have picked this book. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish it because, as you can probably see from me talking here, it's just something that's very, very triggering and upsetting for me. But I want to try. And on that note, I wasn't really going to get into this in this video, but on that note, I do think that it's really important that we all have a voice and do something about this situation. We all have different levels of ability and what we can do and what we are comfortable doing, but at the very least, you should be signing a petition for change, because there are people being murdered because of the colour of their skin, and we can all do something about it. And I'm not going to talk about it anymore because I don't want to cry. So the bonus trait that I got was Musa, and this is a trait associated with creative aspirations. So whether it be a painter, a writer, a musician, they get the Musa trait. So for that reason, I have assigned the prompt to read a mixed media book for this. So the book that I have chosen, and ignore the white shit on the cover, I don't know what that is, but it is Beauty and the Beast, and this is a Mina Lima illustrated edition, and it has like all these different little things in there, so it's definitely mixed media. I've had this for a while and I actually haven't read it, so I am looking forward to it. Beauty and the Beast is one of my favourite fairy tales, so I am really looking forward to reading this. I think I'm going to really love it, and hopefully because of the way that the book is laid out, I can actually just read this in one sitting. That would be great. And the final book for my Sims TBR is for my aspiration, which was Master Actor. Now what I'm hoping to do is have all of the aspirations specifically tied to the cover of the book. And so for Master Actor, my prompt is a headshot. So I want a book with a picture of someone from shoulders upwards. I've gone with Queen of Ruin, which, I mean, you can't see her shoulders, but it is kind of shoulders upwards. And this is the second book in the Grace and Fury series. I don't know if it's I think it's a duology, so I think it's the last one. Obviously, being the second in a series, I can't tell you what this is about, but I can tell you about Grace and Fury. And Grace and Fury was actually one of the first books that I ever tabbed. I actually wrote a review on this book. It was my first Fairy Loot book, and I absolutely adored this. It follows two sisters, Serena and Naomi, I think are their names, I'm not sure, who live in a world where women are very oppressed and have little to no right. The kind of best that a woman could hope for in this world is that they would become a grace, I think they are called, which is like a concubine. One of the sisters, Serena, I think, has been practicing her whole life to be a grace, and everyone kind of thinks she's going to get it because she's very beautiful, very poised, where her sister Naomi is a lot wilder and hasn't really got anywhere to go in the world. And that's all I'll say, because there's a big twist early on, and personally I feel like it's a spoiler, so we'll just leave it there and just know that I think I gave this 4 stars. Absolutely loved it. I've put off reading this book for so long, and hopefully I can remember what happened in Grace and Fury. If not, I have a very detailed review that I can read through. But I'm really looking forward to this, and I think I will really enjoy it. So these are 4 of the 5 books that I plan to read this month. The other one, Why I'm Not Speaking to White People About Racism Anymore, is on Scribd, so I'll be reading the ebook for that. So let's talk about my readathons now. Technically I may be breaking some rules here, but rules are meant to be broken. So for Myth Taker, I'm going to go down the goddess pathway because, I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. And my first choice may be breaking some rules, but I'm a rule breaker. So the first book I need to read is a book with a non-human main character. And for that, I am going with this currently naked version of Crescent City. I am reading this, I have started this. I'm 140 pages in, so maybe I shouldn't be picking it up for a readathon, but it's like an 800 page book. I'm not even close to being halfway through it, so I feel like it's okay, and so I'm gonna do it. The second prompt is to read a book with foiling on the cover, and so for that I'm going to slot in Beauty and the Beast, because we obviously have all this beautiful gold on here. The next prompt on the goddess path is to read my highest rated book. I'm not excited about this one. It is Where the Crawdads Sing. It's Where the Crawdads Sing. I can't even like focus on the blurb of this book enough to tell you what it is, and I think that kind of speaks to my interest level here. I'll tell you what, the first thing I read was it was set in 1969. Historical romance is a huge turn off for me, so I didn't read anymore. Why do I own this book if I have no interest in it? Because my manager told me it was a good book, so I just bought it. That's all you need to do. Just say, this is a good book, and I will go out and buy that book. I am going to give it a try, and if I don't like it, which I can kind of see happening, I will move over to, I believe it's the Oracle pathway, and will need to read a book about books. If I do that, I will probably read the binding. I don't have to declare this now, so I might read something different because the binding is quite long and I have tried a couple of times to get through it and found it quite dense, so we'll see if it actually makes it on here or not. The binding is about a boy who grows up out on a farm and is taken in as an apprentice to a bookbinder, and this bookbinder takes people's memories, writes them down in the books, and when the books are complete, the people forget whatever memory is in there. And assuming that I stay on the goddess pathway, the last prompt was to randomise your TBR. Now, because I did have a prompt on my Sims TBR to read the first book that kind of sprung to mind, I took that as being randomising my TBR. And so, staying on that pathway, I will read All the Ugly and Wonderful Things for that prompt. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd love it if you could give me a thumbs up so that I know. And if you've read any of these books or you have any bookish recommendations for me, then please give me a comment. We can chat about it, and hopefully you will come back and see me in another video soon. Bye.